Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? Welcome to the Just Chatting gaming news and trailers for Friday. It is actually January 21st already. This year is flying by. Got a bunch of news stories for you and a bunch of trailers. Some of the trailers are actually pretty long. But let's go ahead and start with the continuing story of the Xbox buying Activision Blizzard. Okay. So the first story is going to be this tweet from Phil Spencer, which is a very interesting tweet. So anything that Phil says, especially in written form like this, is something that is like heavily rehearsed. So there's been so much chatter from this tweet. So he says, Had good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honor existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of the industry and we value our relationship. That second line is the one that's really interesting. He didn't say, and we plan on keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation. And we are going to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. So what that means is they have issued sort of an ultimatum or a statement of some description to Sony, saying, if you want Call of Duty on PlayStation, you're going to have to do something. And there is a lot of chatter out there about Xbox wants Xbox Game Pass on PlayStation. That'll probably never happen. But if they want to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation, they're going to have to do something. And it's going to be interesting to see over the years what that is going to be. Now, regarding the existing agreements, it's already come out that essentially he was talking about Overwatch 2, Diablo 4. Those will be on PlayStation. Those deals were already set in stone before the agreement. It's also possible there's some other agreements that we don't yet know about, but those are the two big ones that we do know about. The Call of Duty that's coming out this year will probably be on PlayStation. That's probably another deal that was already set in stone. So it all comes down to, after all of that stuff, what is going to happen. So that's a very interesting statement. And yeah, one we're going to have to definitely keep an eye on. Kind of a part two on that. Phil was out there again doing some interviews, and he made a statement talking about revisiting old Activision games. So as you may or may not know, a lot of the non-Call of Duty studios from Activision have been put on Call of Duty in recent years, such as like the Spyro or Skylander or some of those developers. And in addition to that statement, there was also another statement made by Phil saying that he is going to allow these companies to like dive into some of their older IPs. So they're not going to make everybody do Call of Duty. It's like, you guys have all these other great IPs. We want you to make those games. So it's going to be very interesting to see what old IPs come out and we get new games on over the next 5, 10, 15, whatever years. So it's going to be very good. I mean, overall, I think this deal is very good for everybody. I can see them actually going from like studio to studio to studio, setting up a meeting and Phil and the crew being like, okay, what would you guys like to do? So, yeah, very cool. And then there was another story, and I don't think I have it pinned here for what I'm going to show you today. But there's also the possibility that Call of Duty... Actually, do I have that here somewhere? But basically, Call of Duty is it's possible that it's no longer going to be a yearly series, which is also great. I think that needs to be done, and it will give them more time to work on each game, making it better overall. So, good for them. So, another side story, still in the Activision Blizzard ecoverse, so to speak. As I'm sure most of you know, there have been a lot of problems at Activision Blizzard, and this buyout is hopefully going to fix them because they're going to get the company, you know, in better waters and get rid of all the bad people. So, one of the stories that happened several weeks ago was, again, one of the Activision studios, Raven Software, a bunch of people got fired, and again, there was a lot of drama. And so the breaking news today were that the testers at Raven Software, as you can see, a division of Activision, say they formed a union and are asking certain things from Activision Blizzard. But basically, it's the first, like, major union of this kind. And so that is definitely piquing a lot of people's interest, and it's going to be interesting to see if more workers and more companies start to go down this route. Because if you don't know, in the gaming industry, there's a lot of problems like this. And there's another company, which we'll get to here in just a couple of minutes, that's also having very similar issues to Activision Blizzard. And then kind of the final big news story of the day is EA is reportedly very disappointed with how the Battlefield 2042 performed. Like, nobody's playing that game. There's a lot of complaints. And so there are reports out there today that that game is actually going to go free to play. Which, when you take a look and consider that Halo Infinite is free to play, and even something like Fortnite, which is free to play and makes billions of dollars, it would make sense for Battlefield 2042 just go free to play, have your cosmetic cash shop, and go from there. It seems like that is the way to go, instead of paying $60 for a game like that has no single player campaign. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, EA owns Apex, free to play, cash shop, very successful. So between the free to play model, maybe they'll be able to get it fixed up, and maybe that game will be good. Well, let's go ahead and move on to trailers, as we have a lot of them, and several of them are very, very long. So we're going to start out with a trailer for a game that I've not seen yet, and I know a lot of you are very much looking forward to this. But this game, or this studio, is the one that I was referring to that has problems very similar to Activision Blizzard. There's been some stories that have come out in the last couple days that the developers of this game have had to crunch and do just a lot of awful things. And so I wonder if there's going to be boycotts for this game. So I guess we'll see. But that game is... Also, let me kill the music here. That game is this game.
A young dreamer becomes a Jedi Knight. A Jedi is twisted by the dark side. And as the Force awakens, a hero rises up to save the galaxy. Relive the epic story of all 9 films in the biggest LEGO video game yet, with LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Your adventures start by picking the trilogy of your choice. Start with Poe Dameron fighting off the First Order in Episode 7. Jump into Episode 1 as Qui-Gon and his young Padawan escape a failed negotiation. Or start where it all began, as Leia sends R2-D2 and C-3PO on a mission that will change the course of the galaxy. Whatever era you choose, play through the entire saga and
the Hoth
experience
level
the
is probably
hilarious
fun
only LEGO games can offer. As war spreads across the galaxy, LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga lets you experience the many thrills of your favorite battles. New combat mechanics allow for greater mastery as you plunge into the action and defeat enemies both big and small.
Don't shoot the mouse droid.
String attacks together to form impressive combo chains that deal significant damage to enemies. And fend off oncoming attacks using counter-maneuvers designed to defeat foes in styles tailored to your favorite characters. New blaster controls and mechanics put you right in the middle of fierce battles and let you aim with skillful precision. And if things get too intense, take cover and assess the risks and opportunities. When the time is right, take your shot and watch as enemies react to aimed hits. Because after all,
that's kind of cool.
There's nothing like having a good blaster at your side. Or choose to use a weapon from a more civilized age as you wield a lightsaber against the saga's most sinister villains. Fight like a Jedi Knight or someone still mastering the ways. But a lightsaber isn't the only weapon in a Jedi's arsenal. Remember, the Force is everywhere. Harness its power to lift objects, attack enemies,
It's actually amazing how good
or
that game
influence
looks
others.
for a Lego game.
Players can
I'm
also
like looking
take
at
their
like the
adventures to new
reflections
heights
and
by progressively
shadows.
unlocking planets as you journey your way through the saga. Just open the holo projector to access the galaxy map and chart your course. Space travel comes with its own set of exciting encounters. Be prepared to engage in exhilarating dogfights against enemy ships, or take on incredible missions as you pilot legendary vehicles. And when you're ready, make your descent to the next adventure.
That's one heck of a pilot!
Every episode in the saga is full of fun and exciting levels, many with multiple routes to progress through. So you can charge in boldly, or find a more stealthy approach.
They've been working on this game
As
a
you
long
arrive at
time.
new destinations, you can choose to either continue onwards through the main story, or take a detour to explore iconic and expansive planets from the Skywalker saga. From the forest moon of Endor to the desert dunes of Tatooine, get closer to the action and behold the most visually breathtaking LEGO game yet. Go off the beaten path and take on side missions. Everything from bullseyeing womp rats, facing off against scum and villainy,
Where's the
or
arm
pondering
ripping?
the great mysteries of the saga.
Where's Greedo?
Who shot first? Man! Greedo!
The more you
That's a
explore
Naked
the
Gun
galaxy,
reference.
the greater the rewards. Uncover Kyber bricks to unlock new features, including upgraded abilities
Kyber bricks.
across a range of unique character classes. Whether using a scavenger's net launcher to climb with swift agility, sensing opportunities for impressive shots as a scoundrel, unleashing shock grenades as a bounty hunter, or putting your better half to work as a protocol droid.
Goodness me.
Each upgrade makes your characters more powerful and ready to take on any challenge. And with over 300 characters to unlock, free play mode lets you play as legends
Gotta play as
from
Jar
every
Jar
corner
chat
of
through the whole
saga
game.
and live out your greatest Star Wars fantasies. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga lets you relive your favorite moments from all 9 films and experience fun and new adventures like never before. On April 5th,
So that's actually a new release date. April 5th.
the galaxy is yours.
Trust your feeling.
Mumble mode. That's how you gotta play it. You gotta play it with mumble mode. I know people are like very 50-50 on the actual voice. Yeah, it's like better if you play it with just the like the sim You know. That's cool. That does look good. Because that's how the early, like the original Lego games were. It was just like, like that. Instead of like actual voice. Okay, next trailer is for a new game. This is an announcement trailer. Let's check it out. Okay. So there's different classes. This is like a skill tree? Cards, artifacts. Oh, it's Slay the Spire, but like Japanese. A Japanese themed Slay the Spire. I wonder if this is only Switch or if it's coming out to PC as well. I mean, this is like so close to Slay the Spire, it's ridiculous. You're just climbing to the top of the castle? 2/10/22. Huh. I mean, that could be very, very big, but it needs to not be on the Switch. Hold on. I'm going to look here real quick. Is this also on Steam? Let me just look here real fast. Because if it's on Steam, it is. How much is this game going to be? There's no price yet. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to wishlist that. That game could be real good. It's got potential. Okay, next trailer is the second official trailer for Palworld. I don't know if I've seen this one. This game. May have popped up at E3 or something, but let's take a look. Palworld. This is a no-beat game. Whoa, it's a third-person shooter? But wait, they just roped that dog and was dragging it behind a... Wait, it's Pokemon? I'm getting very confused here. Wait, they just combined the two Pokemon into a new Pokemon? It's a third-person shooter, like Monster Hunter Pokemon game. Oh, what are they doing? This got dark real quick. What are they doing to these creatures? They're just building guns on this conveyor belt. Wow. And the dinosaur ate the bird. What is happening in this game? I feel like I need to know more. I was showing way too many things there. I don't know what's happening. Crazy. That's Palworld. Next trailer is for a game that I've actually had my eye on for some time now. And this is a hero trailer for it. Let's take a look. This is another one that I'm like...
This here tale begins with Zed and her squad on leave at the Sun Killer Festival. A place where Zed, as much headbanger as heavy infantry,
Yeah, we've seen this one
was
E3.
nigh into heaven. Zed'll tell you that concert was worth the price of going stone deaf. Why, the crowd and the bands barely slept, or even sat down. But after 5 days of kicking up your heels, trying to pilot a ship's like trying to put socks on a rooster. And once this derelict old station got a hold of them, well, they never had a chance. Zed's a sole survivor with one purpose: get out and get home. If anything tries to stop her, it's gonna end up eating pain with a big spoon.
Okay, here's actual gameplay.
The angrier Zed gets, the more damage she does. Boom.
So this game is called Endless Dungeon.
That's the calm before. And here's the storm.
Yeah, that game looks interesting. Still need to see more on it, but Sega Xbox. Yeah, that game looks good. All right, next up we have a trailer for a game series that at some point down the road, I'm going to do a full series playthrough. I've played the first two. They're fantastic. It's considered one of the best franchises in video game history. Let's take a look.
You ever wonder, with different choices, how we might have ended up?
No. I like the hand we've been dealt.
Get up here!
I am a man of fortune, and I must seek my fortune.
The tusk of Ganesh. Historians believe that it was a symbol of power and dominance.
Libertalia.
The long-lost legendary pirate Utopia.
The biggest pirate treasure of all time is within our grasp.
Take the wheel. What? Be out of your mind? Probably.
Oh, crap.
You know what, Nate? Underneath all the bravado, you're just a sad little boy with delusions of grandeur.
You'd risk your lives, and for what? Let's finish this!
How long we been chasing this thing, huh? You and me.
This is also coming on PC. Oh, there's no date for PC, just for PS5. What sucks about that, and what I don't understand, is why are they not bringing the first 3 games to PC? That's only the last 2. Why would you do just the last 2 and not the entire collection? I don't understand, Sony. Because, like, if you're somebody who's never played Uncharted and you're on PC, would you really go, okay, let's just play the last 2? It's like you're going to completely miss out on the story and everything for the first 3. It's like just playing Mass Effect 3 without the first 2. You don't do that. Crazy. I don't know. We have us another trailer for Dying Light 2. And I should mention that several streamers actually got the opportunity over the last couple days to stream one side mission from the game, and they all said it was fantastic. So, since Dying Light 2 is coming out here in what? Let me look at my calendar here. Like 2 weeks? They're really pumping up the ad campaign for it. But so far it looks good. Let's see more.
Heard of Haran? They isolated Villador too. They built walls. They locked us in. Here we're all infected. Welcome. paradise.
I mean, this is on PC. If you have a PS5, I guess you can switch modes. Yeah, they've been releasing crazy numbers on this game regarding like how much dialogue and stuff it's got in it. Yeah, Rotting Gamer says 560-hour playtime. That is if you want to 100% the game across multiple playthroughs. Let me see if I can find that other quote here real quick. It's Techland. Or actually, well, let me try that. I don't know. It might be... Actually, no, it's Dying Light. Dying Light. Where's that number at? I'm trying to find it here real quick. Yeah, here we go. So they posted a couple days ago. The game has 350,000 words at 40,000 lines of dialogue. That's a lot. That is a lot. It's crazy when you have everything voice acted, and that's how you do it. I don't know if I can find that other tweet here real quick talking about the different playtimes. Oh, yeah, here we go. So, actually, Rotting Gamer, it's not 560, it's 500. Here's the tweet. So, 20 hours. Time needed to complete the main story. 80 hours. Time needed to finish the main story and all the side quests. 500 if you want to do everything and be, like, real crazy. It's going to be a pretty heavy game. Pretty cool. All right, next trailer is another trailer for Horizon Forbidden West. And I love it when games do this. This is a Meet the Cast trailer. Always a big fan.
Rated teen.
There she is, Ashley Birch. She's great.
It feels really amazing to be reprising this role. Aloy is such a rich and interesting character. I think I really got into a rhythm with her, and sort of now I know where she sits and I know how to access.
It's cool, and I was talking about this the other night. Voice acting in video games has changed. With these big AAA games, they're not just sitting in front of a microphone anymore. They are doing full motion capture for the entire game now. It's very impressive.
Her putting her in this new context, she's learned so much about herself from the first game and about the world, and now she has to step into this new role with different stakes. It's a bit of a balancing act in terms of you want her to feel like the same Aloy, but also a lot has changed.
That's not exactly a denial, Silence.
Take it any way you want.
Aloy and Sylens' relationship is so fun because it's so adversarial. They kind of need each other. So there is this really fun push and pull, which is I hate this guy, but I need this guy.
I've had challenges of my own these past 6 months, Aloy. The difference is I've made progress.
I love playing characters that are super smart and super complex psychologically. playing a character that's got a lot of mystery to it or layers to it, for me, I think that's kind of the actor's dream. Silence is such an egomaniac when it comes to his intellect. He rarely thinks of anyone as being his equal. In some ways, coming back to the role was like having to learn the psychology and the rhythm of the character all over again. In that way, it was a challenge. But by the same token, being part of a game that has such a fascinating world and tells such a cool story, being able to do it again, it's just great.
Let's see how this thing likes the taste of metal!
Kotallo is a warrior who has kind of had his life turned upside down and finds himself, when he encounters Aloy, at a point of real crisis. The Tenakth as a people have found themselves separated into 3 major clans. Kotallo's chief has come to a vision of a better future where the tribes, instead of constantly fighting against each other, come together in a form of peace so that everyone can live together. Kotallo's primary mission is to champion his chief's cause and see if he can rally the tribes together.
I really love playing manipulative people. I play this very interesting character named Tilda, who's quite a dynamic character. As an artist, there's a lot of freedom in doing something like this. You get to be in the moment, getting thrown direction by the director, getting to try it over and over again. Felt like creatively it was really fun. There's a lot of mystery to her. I don't want to say too much, but she's an interesting character. I loved playing her.
Blood spilled calls for blood spilled. If the ground is cursed, then let our vengeance sanctify it.
Val has been on a heck of a journey. I think the writers are doing a really wonderful job of keeping him evolving and developing. Now that he's got a taste of knowledge, he wants to know more and more. As he grows up and gets older, he's becoming more assertive, more sure of himself, and perhaps more willing to challenge Aloy, which I think is a healthy complement to Aloy's kind of incredible drive and focus.
When we met, I thought I was a big shot talking to a pretty girl hidden away in the middle of nowhere. And now I see I was just lucky to get a minute of your time. Aloy saved Erend, 100%. After the big battle at the end of Horizon Zero Dawn, she disappears. And Erend's like, well, where did you go? Well, why'd you leave me there? And so they have a little bit of a fractious relationship, which is quite an interesting thing to play. But ultimately, he's a very loyal supporter to some huge story arcs in the next one, which sort of blew my mind when I realized what they were doing.
Val and Erend's friendship really develops in this new story.
They really have to team up to support Aloy in what is quite a time-sensitive quest that she's on. When they're supporting Aloy, they can both bring very different things to the table.
World's gonna blow up.
Val can bring things to the table, and then Erend breaks the table with a hammer. My relationship with John McMillan is very similar to Erend's relationship with Val. Take away the American accents, it's identical.
We've had some really fun times, on set and just hanging out afterwards. He's a good dude. Shout out John Hopkins.
Our cast has expanded in the...
Thought it was funny there for a second when there was that previous mocap scene. He had a water skin, and they had the mocap targeting things on the water skin.
This game, and we've gotten to do a lot of work together on the stage, which has been awesome. We had a shoot recently that had 10 people, which is the most I've ever worked with on a stage.
When you get to go into what we call the volume, the big grey room with all the cameras where you're wearing the little tight grey suits covered in dots, it is such a privilege because you really get to look the other actor in the eye.
There's something about being in the same space and the way that someone can perform something that gets under your skin or whatever and bring something out in you that you didn't anticipate is always so fun.
Back that up for a second.
And bring something out. And the way that someone can... There's something about being...
They are so wired up. I wonder if we'll get to the point... I mean, they're running antennas off them on their shoulders here. I wonder if we'll get to a point where they'll be able to like not have to wear so much stuff. And this blue thing strapped to her, I wonder if that's the weapon? That's crazy though.
In the same space, and the way that someone can perform something that gets under your skin or whatever and bring something out in you that you didn't anticipate it's always so fun.
It's much more like a theatrical performance in that we're all kind of keeping the ball up in the air together.
It shows in the work that ends up on screen as well, because it feels much more embedded. Watching the way concept art and like environmental art and the directing team helped me shape Kotalo and go from this powerful but still unformed idea of who Kotalo is to seeing him like actually on the screen. It blows my mind. I would never be able to create Kotalo like that by myself.
I think that fans are going to be blown away by Horizon Forbidden West.
I'm really intrigued to experience his fans' reaction, not so much to who Sylens is, but what's he gonna do next?
The story really interested me. I think it's a fascinating journey to go on.
I'm interested to see how people react to...
Side note, I wonder if they're going to get Carrie back for Mass Effect 4.
Aloy and this version of her story and the sort of stuff that comes up over the course of the game.
As a fan, I'm super excited because the creatures are just gonna get crazier, the enemies get gnarlier, the world is beautiful and bigger. I mean, I'm super biased. I like Kotalo a lot. And I really hope other people do too.
It's staggering what they're able to do on the next generation of consoles. To go back to those worlds rendered as they are now on this new console is breathtakingly beautiful.
I'm also just excited to play it when it comes out.
Yeah, between the new hardware and stuff like UE5, we are going to see some of the best looking games we've ever seen over, I mean, really moving forward is the best way to say it. It's going to be absolutely insane how good these games look. And you know, that's one thing you've got to give Sony credit for. You know, there's been all this chatter between, you know, Sony versus Microsoft and all this and that. The reason that Sony won the last generation was because the exclusive games that they had were some of the best looking, the best playing, the best stories, the best everything in gaming over the last 5-ish years. Which is just absolutely crazy. Have I played the first one? I played the first one for like the first 10 hours, and then I didn't get a chance to do any more. And that's why it's on the poll. If you guys vote for it, I will stream it from start to finish. But right now, it is not winning. Well, actually, there's a 1-point difference right now on the poll. So for anybody who hasn't voted, there's the latest poll. It's currently ESO versus Horizon versus Mass Effect 3. All right, we got one final trailer to take a look at, and this is a long trailer. This is a dev update on what are they doing to New World. Maybe we won't watch this whole thing, but I want to at least take a look at part of it. So let's see what the New World devs have to say for themselves. Here we go.
Hi everybody, my name is Greg Henniger. I am a member of the community team, and I'm joined by Scott Lane, the game director. And we heard you loud and clear that you liked the last one, and so we're here to do another dev update video. We're going to try our best to keep it a little bit shorter this time, but still go into what you're interested in. We're also going to be talking more about current news, things that is coming, in the near future. So some of those topics might be, January. We're going to deep dive into January, the PTR, what you can expect, how we use it on our team.
Just to pause this here for a second. Yeah, Forrester says we were saying the same thing 20 years ago. Wow, amazing graphics. I mean, yeah. I mean, even if you go back to the 80s and, we were on the NES or the Super Nintendo and then the Sega and then, things just kept scaling from there. And, it's like when they came out with Super Mario 64 for the first time, everybody's minds were just blown away. It's like, oh man, this is the greatest thing in the history of the world, and stuff like that. And now you see what we're doing, and it's only going to keep getting better. Like every year, there's something that comes out that's a little bit better, a little bit better. I still think, and this is just my opinion, the game that currently holds the record. This game actually does hold the record. This is the most awarded game of all time. But this game, is visually the best looking game ever made, the best sounding game ever made, the best motion capture, the best voice acting, and the list goes on and on and on. Last of Us Part 2. That game looks unreal. Absolutely unreal. And I don't know if Horizon is going to beat that because the art style is different, but we'll see. We'll see.
February is really about bugs and polish. We're going to deep dive into that. Then we're going to have Dave V back on to talk about weapon balance and future things coming to the weapons. And at the end of the show, we're going to have questions from you, the community, and from our creators.
Yeah, and you might notice we're unmasked, and I just want to make sure everyone is clear that we take COVID very seriously. Everyone you see today will have been tested within the last 24 hours and cleared to be here. I also want to echo what Greg touched on. The last video came out a lot longer than we wanted, so we're going to do everything we can to keep this thing to 45 minutes or less.
We will try. We will definitely try. Yeah. We're extending the
Christmas
Winter
Yeti
Convergence event. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, when we were, over the break, we noticed that people were responding in a really good way to it, and we thought that a lot of people didn't get the opportunity to play over the break, so we thought we'd leave it running an extra 2 weeks to give more people the chance to experience it and play it.
Nice. So did you jump in? Did it change your play style at all?
Yeah, it had a really positive effect on me, probably one of the reasons I wanted to extend it. When you get to the higher levels of the game, the mid to end game, you don't really go through those starter zones. You find yourself just kind of fast traveling around them.
Right.
This got me running through, and they actually felt different, seeing the lost presence on the ground. And if you just happen to be lucky enough to see a Gleamite meteor come in, it's like, it was a wow moment. It felt really cool.
It is pretty cool.
Even the winter festivals, going over to those locations and getting those special rewards, it just created a lot of fun and reminded me how cool the world is and how easy it is to get lost in the world. So I really liked that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I loved the Aurora Borealis that was in the sky, and it kind of just gave New World this fresh paint. So if you guys haven't checked it out, you should definitely jump in. So this is going to be a great episode, and let's get started.
Yeah, we're super excited.
All right, and now we are joined by Mike Willette, the World Experience Lead, and Dave Verifai, the Creative Director. So this first question is going to be for you, Dave. What are some of the main features that we're going to be able to expect coming in January?
There's two main features we're releasing with January. The first is obviously mutators. We talked about it a little bit last time.
Yep.
Mutators are a way to sort of enhance and make the expedition experience even more challenging, right? So there's 10 difficulty.
By the way, before we get any more into this video, I feel like I should say, so I don't know how many of you have played New World or are keeping up with New World. The game launched with a lot of problems, as many MMOs do. But I would say the issues in New World were a bit more compared to your standard MMO. Over the last couple months, they've been slowly fixing it and getting it better. And it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens with this game this year in particular. So that's why I'm kind of interested to watch this update, just to kind of see what they're gonna do.
The levels that players sort of climb through over time. And as they do that, not only do the enemies get harder, but we add new challenges like the curses. And what we're seeing in PTR is that, you know, we release the first set of mutators, right? There's a rotation that they go through.
So it's kind of like world levels.
Bring new challenges, and the dungeons that are being mutated will change. So it's a way to sort of increase the challenge of expeditions and also sort of continue to add variety over time as we
You guys need to add a
shuffle
group
the
binder.
schedule and shuffle which expeditions are being mutated.
Nice. Mike, is there anything that might not be considered a main feature like mutator?
Wait, they killed the Christmas Yeti. I just realized the table. Oh, God.
That we should still be excited about coming in January.
Yeah, absolutely. So because, you know, mutators are being released, we want players to be able to get to those locations quicker. So we've added 6 additional spirit shrines throughout Eternum. So a lot of those are going to be co-located next to, obviously, which expeditions are getting mutations, but also towards the endgame.
You got to lower the cost on those.
So look for those. In addition to that, we reduced the cost of fast travel, so it won't cost as much as off.
Okay. And this one's for you, Dave. So why did we decide to introduce a new resource instead of just increasing the gear score? I know a lot of people are talking about that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that sort of gets to the
Because that's
the
what
second
MMOs
main
do. You got to
feature of
add
the
like
gear, which is
currency.
the Umbral upgrade system. So players will be upgrading their gear via Umbral materials, and we did that rather than just sort of introduce gear that goes to 625 organically in the world. And that we didn't want to invalidate all the gear that people have acquired already, right? So people that have acquired their really cool 600 legendary, or even now we've announced the 590 cool gear, can use Umbral to upgrade. So they can sort of continue to invest in what they've acquired already and sort of build the power of that.
Problem is there's so many games coming out.
I think it's a sort of a cool new pattern, and it creates another cool resource that players can get through.
Lost Ark
mainly
comes
mutators,
out in like 3 weeks.
Also through the Gypsum Cast.
Another
So we're
MMO.
trying to integrate a lot of different ways to get this resource into the game.
Is it going to affect the expertise system at all?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So expertise is, we're raising the cap of expertise to 625, and we're sort of integrating the
That's a
expertise
cool
and
staff.
Gypsum together. So as you use Gypsum to increase your gear after 600, each point upgrade that you get will also
This
increase
game
your
also
expertise, and
needs
that's how
to
you'll increase your
triple the
expertise
amount of
past
cosmetic
600.
items.
Previous to 600, it'll be the current means, the Gypsum Cast, the bumps you get in the world, things like that. But after that, it'll be the Umbral system.
Okay, awesome. And I know a lot of people have been talking about this next question, so of course I'm going to give it to you, Mike.
Oh, yay, me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Why did we decide to rely on tuning orbs for mutated expeditions as well?
So we needed a method of control of access, basically because we want to make the rewards very valuable to players. So we want to make sure that your time investment is equal to the reward that you're going after. So that was the initial impetus for that system. So in January, we're going to allow players to also purchase them in the faction shop and craft them. And so that's one of the bigger differences, and we're going to monitor through the PTR and play sessions, like what is that rate? Does it need to, increase or decrease based upon play patterns and basically feedback from the community and what we're seeing in the actual data. So we're going to look forward to seeing how all that stuff plays out. And so by the time this is released, we might have already gotten data because we're weeks in the past now for the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to add to that. I think in the past, I think we were probably a little too strict on our gating, right? And I think this is the first step in sort of loosening that with adding access to the faction shop. And we'll be continuing to look at it. And I think, make sure we hit a balance that feels good for everyone.
And something else to note is that we're going to make the vanilla expeditions, those keys available in the faction shop as well.
Okay.
So that's going to be a big difference. And then once you've actually defeated the vanilla version of the expedition, you'll receive the codex for going into the mutated versions
The
of those
mutations.
expeditions. And those keys are universal, so you can use any mutated orb in any mutated expedition.
Okay. All right. So I know when we look at like the PTR and stuff, we also look at the forums, we look at anecdotal evidence, but looking at data and how players are interacting directly in game is really important to us as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's not just one vector that we gain, our knowledge of like how the game is being ingested and like how players are going about like, defeating things. So we're going to try to look at like what were their gear score values for when they cleared certain difficulties.
Right.
Like which mutations are obscenely hard and for what given reason. So there's so much scale that we can do internally, and then we get a lot
pretty
more data.
classic
We have a lot
MMO monitoring,
and
nothing
so we're starting to see
too crazy
pretty
there.
awesome patterns in Lazarus and Garnet Genesis and Dynasty.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Absolutely.
Now we are joined by Katie Kaczynski, the senior producer. I know we talked a little bit about it in this last segment, talking about the PTR, but what have we learned so far in the January release, things that we found off the PTR?
So one of the big things that we kind of touched upon in our last segment was just the frequency of mutator orbs and how you get them, and that's something that's
I've heard that the
keep aware of and monitor. Like,
higher end expeditions are just like
next thing we're looking
overly
at is,
difficult.
And this was some feedback that came in that we're examining, is like how can we get lower level expeditions mutated? So it's a really good question. The things that we're dealing with are like, hey, does it have like the same length of time of experience? Also, does it have the same number of bosses, same number of chests? So it's things that we need to equate to see if there's value there. So that's another thing that we're exploring. One of the other big things that we found, and including in our own playthroughs and PTR, is some of the named enemies coupled with some of the mutations are really hard, very difficult. So that's something that
I'm not even talking about mutations. I'm talking about
we'll continue to balance
vanilla
feedback
dungeons.
Yeah, are you going to want to try to keep some of them on the higher level, just to get the people who really want to go after the super tough
that's
stuff?
a cool boss.
It depends if it's a good strategy. Meaning there's a mechanic around this and it's something that players can overcome or use tactics to defeat. But if it's just straight up broken, then yeah, that's a problem.
Right.
So there's a fine line.
Works like
between
Isaac.
Fun and please kill me.
Exactly.
One thing I wanted to add, I think another piece of
I've only ever done gods
during PTR is that
3 times.
Items to be gear score 600 to use Umbral to upgrade them was a bit onerous.
Well, actually, no, that's
said,
not true.
Hey, these are really hard to get. Sometimes you get bad luck, and you've been chasing.
I've done the first 2 or 3 bosses and gods a ton of times. I actually helped test the first one back in the day, so I've done that one the most. But I want to say off the top of my head, I don't know if I've ever actually beaten gods. If I have, maybe once. But I was also not a hardcore rating anymore.
One for a long time, and if you don't have them, it feels like you're locked out of the system. And I think we do want to make legendaries very valuable, but we hear that feedback and totally
legendary.
So one of the things we're looking into now is reducing that minimum requirement from 600 to 590, and I think that'll be great. It'll allow people to take the really good, because sometimes you get 2 great perks, and it's like, I didn't get that third, but it's still a really strong 590, 595. This will allow you to upgrade that to 600, and then from there take it all the way to 625 with the Umbral system. So I think that'll be a change that seems to be exciting to players.
Nice. So speaking of things that we've are learning in the current PTR, is there anything that we learned from past PTRs that really helped improve the PTR when right now and PTRs going forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest things we learned is you've got to make sure players can test what you're giving, right? So make sure the backstories.
I feel like the focus on their camera is a little bit off.
It has all the things you need. Make sure the crafting stations are at tier 5.
They're probably using a DSLR.
All the fast travel points, give A's off. Make sure players can test.
And it's focused.
The other thing we learned is that the more we can provide
on the close shot on that guy, it's trying to focus on the box over his shoulder.
Players can test that. And I know the patch notes weren't fully complete again this time.
They were not. So yeah, and that honestly that was a tough decision to make because the patch notes weren't done.
Yeah.
So when we had the holiday, we had just the way that we moved those fixes through our branches. We didn't have the notes in a good spot at the time that we needed to start the PTR so that we could get the right amount of testing on that build. So we were like, let's just put out these patch notes that are incomplete. We'll let folks know that they're not complete, and we'll continuously update them to get more of the information in. And by not complete, it meant that there were things in the PTR that we just hadn't had the time to put into the notes yet, because that is, again, like we talked about in the last dev stream, there's a lot that goes into it. So so we posted it because we wanted folks to have that first, like, this is the stuff that we fixed, this is what we did, there's more coming, and it was a mix of thank you for this and just utter outrage because they thought that we had made like stealth changes, and we were like, no, we just were behind and we're getting them out. So they've been updated since, and they'll continue to be updated throughout the PTR. So the lesson learned there is that we need to get as many of the notes, even if they're not in like the best form, we just need to get them out to the players when they start the PTR. So so that was a miss this time. We did better than we did the last time. So we're incrementally getting better, but it definitely wasn't in the shape that we wanted it this last time.
But some people took it as a challenge to like scavenger hunt and find the specific things. So speaking of the PTR, can you talk about the PTR to come out for February and when we should expect PTR releases compared to monthly releases?
Yeah, so there is a PTR for February. So the interesting thing about February, in case folks are not aware, is that February is just a like bug fix month. There's no major content that's coming with the February release. We have some things that we're focusing on for that to make sure that we get a good amount of fixes in and we make a real difference for the players that have been asking for things for a long time that we've had the opportunity to work on. It's just that they haven't had the testing that they need for us to feel safe to put them out into the wild. So as far as when we start a PTR, we want to give ourselves enough time to react. So there's not a specific time frame that we're going to be pushing on a PTR, but we definitely want to give ourselves at least 2.5 weeks, generally longer, before we do a release that we would want that to be in PTR. We learned the first PTR when we gave ourselves like 7 days. That was, we were like, we'll just do scale testing, we'll check to make sure that like the servers can handle it, and then we're good. And what we found out was that we were not good. We were the opposite of good.
Hey, Darth Vader, how's it going?
Felt like we lost their trust, and we felt like we lost their trust. So we've been gaining it back since then, and so we want to continue to do that by providing the PTRs far enough in advance that we can listen to them, take their advice, and find out what the biggest sticking points are and address those before things get released into the live game.
Now I know that like the dev team likes to jump into the live game and interact with players there, and read chat and see what the finger on the pulse of the live service. Do you guys jump in?
I'll be honest, the New World community is actually pretty good. Everybody's like very helpful. Chat's not crazy compared to like SWTOR. I feel like the in-game SWTOR like general chat is just a dumpster fire all the time.
Into PTR?
Oh yes.
You're in there constantly?
Oh yes. It was pretty visible the last time.
Oh really?
Yeah, we ran our, some people may have seen our Merc Guard run. That was done in the PTR last month. And then we also had scheduled some days where usually we have internal playtests for the next release. So we'll have something for the PTR. We want our players to tell us what's going on with that because we've already tested it internally with our smaller group. So we want them to kind of focus internally on future stuff. Well, last time we were like, no, everybody into the PTR, pile in, let's see what's going on. This is a big release. We have a lot coming up. We want to get this tested. And players noticed because we have some amazing folks on our team who have been level 60 for forever. Like they are like the tried and true. And then you have very casual people. And we just kind of walked into some situations that
worst chat, Drummond Koss or the Barons? I would say the Fleet. I mean, Barons chat in WoW was always more about like people having fun and trolling and stuff like that, where SWTOR chat is just like terrible stuff a lot of the times.
Maybe we shouldn't have walked into because, we're like, oh, I can solo this like level 60 elite area. Why not? I was like, I'm level 60. I can go to Cutlass Keys and solo these level 40 elites. No, cannot, not a chance. So yeah, so we jump in and we'll join. It might not be noticeable because you have to have a specific build that calls you out with like different UI and chat, but they join for sure. So we just won't tell you who we are.
Yeah.
It's a secret.
All right. Awesome. Thanks.
Compared to back in the day when the developers would actually appear in-game as characters. Here's a gaming history quiz question for you guys. Does anybody know? So, all right, let me back up. So, as I mentioned, developers in MMOs back in the day used to appear in-game. There was an incident that happened in a game that changed that for all developers. Does anybody know what that game was?
And now we have Katie and Scott back at the table, but now we're joined by Scott Geiser, the senior gameplay engineer. This first question's for you, Katie. Can you give us a little more insight when we're going to see the next round of server transfers being available? I know everyone's talking about it. Everyone wants to know.
Yeah, I want to know too.
Wait, why are they doing more server transfers? I thought that was done already. They're doing more, or are these voluntary? Let's find out.
Just kidding. So we did less than ideal merges in December. So we had this grand plan to merge all of the worlds that were struggling into a world that would be good, right? So that means that either it's multiple worlds struggling into one world, and because of their populations and the type of populations that they had, that one world would now be what we consider healthy, or it was
I agree
a
with that, Schoolman,
low-population world into an already
right now, New World is 1K per server. That's not enough. They need like 2K.
So those were our two that we were working with most often. Unfortunately, or fortunately, actually, right before we were going to do those, like literally,
they seem very like content with their 1K server pops.
the night before we were going to announce, we discovered this housing persistence issue, which would have been really awful if that had gone out into the live world.
Sorry, I keep pausing it. If they're going to stay with the 1K server pops, they need to reduce all respawn timers by half, because the respawn timers are way, way too high.
And if we had merged worlds, it would have been really bad, and we don't want to do that. So we had to fix this housing persistence issue, which is being fixed and being tested, and it's coming out soon. And then once that's done, we need to complete that first round of merges. We're calling it Merge 1.5. So we had round 1 in December. Round 1.5 will be right after we fix the housing persistence issue, which we'll let folks know in the forums, like, hey, this is done.
I don't even know what that is.
I know that there's a lot of threads on it, but there's like
I've not heard of that
post
problem
from community.
Right.
So on that post, we'll let folks know that it's been done and that we're going to move forward with round 1.5 of those merges. Once those are done, then we can open up character transfers again. So the merges are done by us. We merge worlds together. We call the final world a destination world, and the other worlds are our source worlds. Character transfers are initiated by the player. So those are not full worlds moving over.
Oh, that's what they're doing.
They go by a separate but somewhat similar set of rules. And those have also been put on hold because of the housing persistence issue, because you bring your house with you, right? So until that was fixed, we couldn't do the rest of this. And we were planning to open the this is like, there's so much here. This is so much planning.
It's a domino effect, yeah.
It's like what we had wanted in a perfect world was that all these merges would have been done mid in December. And then right after that, we can open up the character transfer so that after you've soaked in the world and seen whether or not this is the right world after merge for you and your company, if you decide to go somewhere else, then you have this token and you can go where you would like to go, like whichever world you're going to have the most fun playing on. Because of the persistence issue, all those plans got moved back. So once we're done with 1.5, the round 1.5 of merges, then we will open up the second round of character transfer tokens.
So they're still doing more. All right.
Okay, so it's going to be a second token and not just the first token people may have been sitting on.
And I think the high level takeaway is this is hugely important to us.
Yeah.
Both transfers and merges are a huge priority, but we're not going to break things trying to get them rushed in. So they're going to happen soon, and that's about as exact as we can get right now, but we're actively working on them.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I know the community is like, knocking down our door for that answer. So hopefully we'll get that out. Another thing people are knocking down our door for answers on is kind of the status of some of the major bugs. Scott, do you have that in your back pocket?
Yeah. So all the different gameplay teams have their own priority list of bugs, and we try and take care of the biggest ones first. For this next update, we've closed hundreds of bugs. Some of the big notable highlight ones. I know I saw a lot of videos of people drowning on land on YouTube. So
drowning on land.
There was an issue blocking.
I could tell you guys a story about a gun turret that shot me from a world away.
If you swap back to your original faction, you couldn't progress to get to the top rank anymore. So that will
also, his mic is low. They got to turn him up.
Another hot button issue is the Void Gauntlet sliding and the animation canceling on the bow to fire way faster than you're really supposed to. So those will be in the upcoming fixes as well.
Scott didn't mention the weapon swap issue that there's been a lot of concerns about, primarily because that's not really a bug. We're going to go deep on that in a little bit with Dave Hall, as well as the weapon desync issue. We're going to have an update on that. There are a few more fixes, though, that we can talk about. We have the Outpost Rush. There's a bunch of fixes in Outpost Rush, but the one that people have been complaining about is the Brute's meatball attack is happening a little too often. So we're reducing that.
And it'll be more expensive to get the Brute as well.
It'll be more expensive to get them. And then also we have the housing tax change. So before we had the housing tax, the players felt it was too high.
Yeah.
We've given a huge reduction in cost in that through the holiday time. Now we're going to come back and put the cost where we think it is, and it's not going to be as high as it was, and it's not going to be as low as it's been discounted to. We think it's going to be a happy median that works for everybody.
I don't know about that.
I know we talked about it a lot in the last previous dev update video. Really dug deep into exploits, duplication bugs, bans. What has happened between that video and today?
Yeah, so there's been a lot going on in that regard. It's one of the team's biggest priorities. Obviously, the health of the game economies is kind of central to our game, so we need to do whatever we can to protect that. So it's a lot of different teams are contributing there, like the customer service team. They're changing some of their workflows to make it quicker for them to respond to reports from players about bots and things that you see in the game, as well as gold seller spam. So player reports are a huge part of how we're able to combat these things.
Ban them.
So
that's what I say.
That it's super helpful, and reducing the amount of time from when the reports send.
I'm willing to bet Darth Alrude that they're going to add that as the next range class.
Makes a huge difference.
Dual pistols.
Also, like I said in the last update, we don't just use the reports. We also have to correlate that with telemetry because we don't want reports to be weaponized against players and things like that.
Exactly.
So we've done a lot of work in getting that telemetry data more easily accessible to customer service, so that when they do get a report, they can say oh, and this player has already triggered these alarms or whatever, and so we can action them quicker as well. And then finally, we're always investigating bots and different bot programs, and we work with our partners at Easy Anti-Cheat so that they can identify signatures for some of these things, and EAC can handle identifying and banning machines that are using these bot programs as well. And so I think since the last time we talked, I think maybe about 9,000 or so bot accounts have been actioned on.
Awesome.
9,000.
I think maybe about 600 more just that we're running programs maybe we haven't identified, but that we've banned as well just through investigation.
Yeah. Has the PTR been helpful in finding some of these things? Feedback from the community and reports from the PTR?
Not for bots specifically, but for exploits for sure.
Great.
Yeah, for sure. I've gotten quite a few messages on the forums, direct messages. Please do not post publicly about exploits, please. So I've gotten a lot of messages, and so have some of the other developers and community managers informing us of things that people are able to exploit on the PTR. So we've been able to address that before it's gone live.
Yeah, that was actually a major problem that they were having, is they had a section on the forums to report exploits, and then initially they said please tell us exactly how you're exploiting so that we can fix it. But by doing so, they were showing everybody how to do the exploit.
Become a bigger problem for folks. So that has been great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Looking forward a little bit, what are some of the bug fixes we're going to look for in February? Are there like specific ones people should be aware of? Ones that may have taken a little bit longer that we're now finally getting into to February?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of bug fixes. There's not really one that's outstanding because this isn't a major feature update. We're not making those like big content changes. But we do have some bug fixing verticals that we're focusing on. So the two that are near and dear to me that I know that the team is working on is they're doing a full pass on missing ingredients and recipes, mats, and searchability in the trading post for those items. They're doing a full pass on that. And then also perks and abilities. So bug fixing on those, which I know is gonna be really fun and exciting for the players to finally like not have to get to me on the forums and tell me about how wrong these things are. I know that like we are listening for sure. It just is, these things are really big and sometimes they touch a lot of different files and it's dangerous for us to put into the smaller updates. So we've been working on those. Those are two that are near and dear to me, although there's definitely more verticals that we're looking into.
Yeah, another one that's important to me is throughout development, when you add stuff to the game, you sometimes break existing stuff. And this is manifested in ways that frustrate me through missions and quests not being completable. So we have a goal to fix every one of those. So we're gonna go through, hey, the quest marker's taking you to the wrong spot, or the drop isn't happening, or in some cases, we've broken something like in the housing quest line, or the faction quest line, the faction changing quest line, I meant. To have all of those, to make sure that those are all bulletproof as well. Like this period of February, it's exciting because, you know, there are often different people making features than fixing bugs, but to get that pure focus on bugs at this point is really exciting.
Nice.
And we know that people want it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really great. All right, thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks.
All right, here we go.
All right, and now we're joined by Dave Verifei again, but we have another Dave at the table.
This is where they're gonna nerf like axe and hammer.
Dave Hall, the player experience lead. So this question is going to be for you first. The Great Axe, the Rapier, the Fire Staff, the Ice Gauntlet, these weapons probably have the most discussion threads in the forums, with players thinking that they're too weak, other players thinking they're too strong. You know, how does the team feel about that?
That's a great question. Yeah, we have a lot of feedback on these weapons, and we're constantly looking at it. And I think we feel like we're getting to a place that's very close. And we are going to be making some changes to these weapons, but they're going to be minor. So there's no...
Everybody knows class balance in an MMO is impossible.
No major issues coming up with us. We don't feel like there's any major changes coming down the pipe for these. So we want to make sure we're going to be doing slight balances to them and moving from there.
Is that something people will be able to experience on the PTR? Maybe coming up.
Maybe up in the future months. It's not going to be on the current PTR. It'll be probably on the next PTR.
Yeah, I mean, I think every PTR we try to introduce a couple balance changes, and like Dave said, I think we're getting close. Balance is super hard, especially in a game like ours where there's so many different types of play, right? Like there's solo PvE, group PvE, there's small combat, then there's war. Like there's so many different modes. It's hard to get the balance perfect, right? So, but I think we're at the stage where we're going to be making smaller changes, letting them percolate, right? Like sometimes the small changes have way broader impacts than you think about in terms of the meta. So there are some changes coming, but they're going to be smaller in nature, and we're going to be keeping our eye on it.
Okay. Things that have small, impacts. Do you have an
Also, you can tell that he is super nervous, the guy in the center. The guy on the left and the right, you can tell that they've done a lot of on-camera stuff because of how they're acting and how they're their professionalism. But the guy in the center, you can just tell that he's not used to being on camera.
Update on the desync issue.
I do, yes. So we have a strike team now formed around the desync issues, and we already just put out something in our weekly, which I think came out. Well, by the time the video comes out, it'll be live.
Funny enough, most developers are not used to being on camera, to be fair. That's why you don't see a lot of interviews with a lot of the on the boots programmer type developers. That's why there's always like a community manager that does most of the talking.
Major change in there, and we have
or a game director,
or
on the whatever
issues. But it is our top priority right now. We have a strike team associated with it.
Awesome, sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick on that. I think it's important for players to realize there's not like a desync issue, right? That's like causing everything. It's a bunch of different little changes that have caused the server and the client to sort of be mismatched, and they've got a team now focused on this, and they're going through them one by one. They're trying to fix the most onerous ones first, the worst ones, and then go down the list. But it's going to take a while to get them all out, but I think it is a focus now, and they're working on the big ones up front.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like people are investigating. We're hyper looking into it.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Dave V, is there anything you can share about the future of combat that people might not know about yet?
Not too much more than we talked about last time. I think, bugs and balance are a big issue for us still and a big focus for us still. So, the desync issue, and I think Dave may be talking about weapon swapping next. Some of those big bugs around combat are a high priority for us. So that is taking a lot of the focus of the team. Balance we're going to continue to looking at. So those are some of the big focuses. On top of that, weapons are still a thing. We are working on, and I think we talked about it last time, Blunderbuss is going to be the next weapon we're releasing.
Oh, I forgot about that. They're adding a Blunderbuss as the next weapon. For anybody who was wondering, yeah, there's your next gun.
On that, we're playing it a lot internally in the team. It's super fun. Definitely brings a new play style to ranged weapons. So we're working on that on future weapons. So that's the main focus of the team right now.
Yeah, Scott brought it up a little bit earlier, but what are we doing about the weapon swap delay that some players are experiencing?
So in our next PTR, we're going to actually have an update for the players to try out. We have a backtick check on our weapon swap now that's going to really help with the confirmation that you have done a swap, basically. So when you hit that button, you're going to know that swap is going to occur, and it's going to be much more reliable than it has been in the past. It is important to note, though, that we do not have instant cancels in for our swaps. That is a big topic for us and something we're not ready to tackle at the moment. It's quite a game changer if we did that right now. So
yeah, it would be.
You will still have to wait for the windows for the weapon swap, but it will be queued up correctly now.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for the update on combat, guys.
Community questions.
For this last segment, we answered a lot of questions earlier in the show and all the other segments. We were scouring the forums, we were scouring Reddit, social media, so it was from, directly from the mouths of our community. And so for this last segment, I want to throw some grab bag, questions from some of our content creators who are, playing our game a lot. So this first question is going to be for you, Scott. All right, so are there any plans for expanding content in the open world, such as random incursions or events or dynamic events, stuff of that nature?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't get specific, but I think I've said a few times, and I'll say it again, is the more dynamic the world is, the better it is for us.
I agree.
When you revisit places in the world, we want it to feel different and to feel new and fresh.
The problem is they are trying to do that with the corrupted areas. But the corrupted areas can only be cleared by groups. And you don't really see a lot of groups going after that stuff when you should be. I think they need to scale them down.
And exciting. So this is something we're going to carry on a lot going forward, and you can expect to see future updates to completely support open world gameplay, more dynamic gameplay, for sure.
Okay, great. Dave, this one is for you. Can you talk about the philosophy of bumping gear score so soon?
Yeah. So the reason we're bumping the gear score now is really to tie in with mutators, right? Like those two features are very well paired. We wanted people to climb the difficulty ranks and increase their gear score as they were doing it. And features like mutators take a long time to build, right? Like it's a complex feature that involves a lot of the game. So we sort of made this decision based on information a long time ago, and we thought this would be the right decision, to increase gear score and have mutators coming out now. I think if we were making that decision today, I think we see other priorities like some of the bugs and other things that we would focus on, and we might not make that decision today. But just because it's tied with mutators, and we really wanted to get that feature to players, that's why it's happening.
Yeah. Anticipating what players want before your game is out in the wild isn't always the easiest thing in the world.
Right.
We have huge conviction around mutators, as a long-term, healthy, really strong feature for New World. But in hindsight, maybe it is a little earlier than it could have been.
Agree.
Okay. Let's see. This one's for you. Are there any planned changes or like major overhauls coming to War and Invasion? How does the team feel about their current state?
Yeah, you know, as a developer, you're never happy with your feature. You always want to make it better. So I think we have a lot of things that will be coming down the pipe, smaller, mainly for these ones. Right now, our top priorities are War Declaration and some of the war performance. There's definitely some issues there that we've been trying to get better over the time. It's getting a little bit better. We still have a long way to go, though, I think.
Yeah, and I think longer term, no commitment to time or anything here, but we'd love to see casual versions of each of those to get more players the opportunity to try, you know, some of our backup box features like War and Invasion. I think that'd be really cool, and I have a lot of fun playing them, so I'd like to get more people in there.
Yeah, that's great. Dave, the new PvP missions on paper looked great, but in reality are some of the more mundane features of the game, considering it's one of the core features. Can we expect some improvement in the PvP missions, or?
Yes, I mean, I think the change.
So I have not completely kept up on this, but I think the problem with the PvP missions right now is the fact that people are doing the PvP missions without PvPing. Like, you get flagged, you flag yourself, you do the mission, and everybody leaves you alone.
Changes to the PvP missions, like the actual missions themselves, I do like them better. They're focused more on the actual PvP activity rather than just doing things while flagged.
Now, he could be talking about something new here. I don't know.
So I think that is an improvement. But yeah, the whole process of flipping a territory, you know, is a little cumbersome. And a certain part of that is by design, right? Like, we don't want that to be super, super easy that you can just flip on a whim, sorry. So yeah, I can understand the feedback here. This is something we're looking at. You know, it's not an immediate priority on something that we're going to be jumping on, but we're going to keep our eyes on it.
Okay. And the open world, the environment of New World is really what makes it fantastic. I agree. This person said they'd love to see an arena built into the side of a cliff or a coliseum, similar PvP area where people can like watch other people fighting inside. Can we, you know, expect to see some small-scale PvP arenas with like maybe matchmaking systems? This is for anybody that wants to answer.
Yeah, I think just to start off, I think our small-scale PvP is one of the best parts of our game. It really shines our combat when we're playing that, and it's something we absolutely want to support. And we do have some things coming down the pipe. I don't know if anybody go a little further.
I mean, it's pretty early to talk about them, but I think, you know, arenas is something that we're looking into. I think if we do it, or when we do it,
I'd say that's pretty smart.
Likely be in a phased approach, right? Like we will release an early version of it that may not be as fully featured, and we'll continue to grow it over time.
Iterated on the PTR, that type of stuff,
with players,
with all other new.
I think like 3v3 or something similar to that, queue in instance, that could be like a lot of fun in this game.
Features that we might introduce,
Yeah, I'm excited. Like, I would like to be in a fixed where I know it's like 3v3 or 5v5 or whatever the numbers are, PvP experience, because it very rarely ends up that way when you're playing in the open world. So I think it'd be exciting, and you can't hide in a 3v3. So
right. Like what we see, you know, happening in the open world right now, people will create a giant circle and make a fight club of sorts and bracket and all of that stuff. So it's exciting to see it already happening, and that we're noticing it. All right, well, that's great. Thanks for the answers, guys.
Thanks.
All right, we covered a lot today, and I think there was some good information that we got out there. Last time you guys did a run of the Merkgard area. Are you going to be doing another run for the community?
Yeah, last night our World Experience team did a playthrough of the Dynasty shipyards on Mutation 4. Stumbled a little bit. It'll be a good watch. Hope everyone enjoys it.
They'll have to tune in to find out how that one goes. And you know, you let us know that you found the first one valuable, so we decided we're going to do a couple more of these. Please let us know if you want us to continue to do them, and you continue to find them valuable. I think we'll find the time to get some more transparency out to the community. On the next episode, we're going to be sitting down with our customer service team, kind of deep diving into how they deal with bots and bans and player reports and things of that
nature. When you
nature.
call customer service, please be nice to them.
Around, what February is up to, and then looking a little forward into March.
Yep.
All right, so we'll see you next time.
All right, cool. I wish that BioWare would do more stuff like that, like on a monthly basis. I think that'd be very, very cool. Well, there you go for those who are watching on YouTube, one of our longer trailer times. Before we wrap up this video, I need to answer the question that I asked like 10 minutes ago. I asked the question of, does anybody know why developers no longer appear in games as physical characters? And the answer is, it happened in Star Wars Galaxies. Surprise, surprise. And I'm pretty sure this was after World of Warcraft had launched. So what happened is, I'm sure you guys have heard me tell the story of you could have your own player towns in Galaxies. And these are towns that you could literally put anywhere. You would put down a city hall, and that would essentially claim the territory, and then you could build houses, and then as you get more citizens in your town, your city size would actually increase. As part of that, a lot of cities had city militias, and then you could also have your city be part of like the Empire, the Republic. You could actually later on purchase like Empire like bases and NPCs to like have in your town. So because everything was 100% player run and player driven, a really cool system that they had is if you had somebody come into your town and they were causing trouble, maybe they were griefing somebody, maybe, you know, any number of reasons they were causing a problem. The mayor of the town or anybody from the city militia could go to that person and be like, all right, listen, you're causing problems. We don't want you in our town anymore. I'm asking you to leave. If they say no, you can, and I don't know if Jalen or Genobi or if anybody remembers the actual command or the term, but essentially you could issue them a in-game warning. So you ask them nicely to leave or to stop doing what they're doing. They said no. You issue them a warning, and it then pops up on their screen. You have 60 seconds to leave this town. If you don't, you are automatically flagged for PvP. And if they choose not to leave, they're flagged, then anybody in the militia can kill them. Or they can attempt to defend themselves, obviously. So what happened is in Galaxies at the time, and again, I think this was done in EverQuest, and I think maybe even the early days of WoW, and other MMOs at the time as well. So the devs, whenever they would respond to a help request, maybe a player was stuck, whatever, they would literally just transport into the game with their character, and they would walk to the spot where the player needed help with whatever. What happened is a dev walked into a town, and they immediately issued that strike against the dev. And the dev said, because you can actually, I think I have a screenshot somewhere of this. But the dev's like, I'm here to help. Undo this immediately. And the mayor of the town or militia member or whoever it was is like, no. And so the dev got flagged, went PvP, and the militia killed him. So they killed a dev. And that made like major news stories at the time and just completely blew up the internet. And again, this was like 2003, 2004, so internet was a different time, you know. But after that, that changed MMOs, where the devs will no longer appear in the game as a character. But yeah, that's a cool story. But yeah, anyway, for those who are watching on YouTube, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.